What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. I think we lost contact somewhere back on my other live earlier this morning. That was funny. I had been just rambling on, and I looked down and everybody was just gone. That was pretty funny. So I came back here real quick, got back to the dock. And we shifted gears, man. We're in a totally different location. So right now I'm in Festival Park here in Central Florida. I didn't have to drive, yeah, Festival Park, that's it. There's so many retention bodies of water here that, I mean, there's thousands of lakes, thousands. And you can just pick up and go. And that's the nice thing about the inflatable. So thanks. Big shout out to Strictly Sail and Kayak, located in Blue Ash, Ohio. They've been there since 1978. What were you doing back in the late 1900s? Almost the mid 1900s. That's a long time ago. So I'm just bombing right now. I'm speed casting with a spinner bait. Don't toss a lot of spinner baits, but we're in about 4 or 5 feet of pretty clean water. There's not a lot of grass, not a lot of stuff happening like that. So I'm just seeing if there's any action happening. And at the same time, I get to try out this new Proteus Little Miami rod, which is, I think, going to turn out to be a really good all-purpose rod. So big shout out to Little Miami Outfitters, located in Loveland, Ohio. These reels are made with love. So I'm just tied straight to the braid. This is just bomb casting at its best. And this rod really feels good. Really does. This is a 7'3", so I like the length. I've been switching over to a 7'4". A lot more going into some of those longer rods. You know, kayak anglers tend to get that reputation that we like those short rods. I don't think that's the case. We just don't like the long rear handles. They get in the way of the PFD. You're sitting down most of the time. Thanks for the hearts and the love, guys. What's going on? We are, you know, who doesn't love fishing? I guess fishing's not for everybody. I can't say that. If you don't like fishing, you don't like fishing. But fishing is just really an absolutely wonderful, wonderful thing. Is that my knot? Oh, that's where I've got braid to braid tie there, because I got some back braid here that I've been using for a while. It was still in pretty good shape, so I decided just to tie on some new braid. I think what we're going to do here is we're going to switch gears, and I'm going to switch gears a lot. The water's cold, so it might be a really good area to do some crappie fishing. I like to find a much deeper hole. Right now we're just in about 4 or 5 feet of water. This is an FP 885 flipping and pitching stick. This is really the one that you want to have here in Florida. You want to have a stick that has the ability to allow you to really toss into some of the really thick vegetation here, and without much effort, when you get hung up and stuff like that, not sit there and just bend your rod and go crazy trying to get it out. This is a lure that a buddy of mine wanted me to check out. It's very much like a gambler lure. Doesn't smell like a gambler though. Those gamblers have that Olive Garden smell. So we're just gonna have fun and games here. Play, again, we're in Festival Park here in Central Florida, so we just wasn't feeling good back there at Lake Momo. Things just didn't feel right. So we haven't been here at Festival Park in a long time. And there's parts of Lake Momo where I just can't get really good reception. The breeze is certainly starting to pick up, which absolutely changes a lot of things. That's what I love about bass fishing. Things will change. every 15 minutes, just depends. The sun's gonna dip behind some clouds, clouds come out. That changes stuff up a little bit. So I'm just bouncing this thing into the jungle is really all I'm doing, and just seeing if I can provoke a strike. Seeing if I can move, get anything moving. If something's here, then as a tournament angler, if I was in a tournament, I would just hang out here for a little bit, see if I couldn't bomb some 15, 16 inchers, get them up on the tournament board. You know, a lot of times you're getting into these areas and they can be pretty overwhelming because you're just looking around and it's nothing but absolute beautiful targets. And if you're not from Florida, you know, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. We don't have areas like this to fish in. Now in this situation where I do have my lure stuck, I'm not gonna bend my FP 885 all to hell and back. I'm just gonna point it and pull it out like that. I'm tied straight to braid, so you're gonna most often get it back. Even though this is a flipping and pitching stick, I can bomb cast. It's amazing. So you have the opportunity to cover all of this real estate. I mean, that was just a boom. Joe Burrow pass that was just, you know, 58 yards down the lane. Love it. I hope the Bengals do something today. Oh, my baby doll, man, she's a faithful Bengal lover, man. She loves the Bengals. We're up against our rivals up there, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh my gosh. It all depends on how tonight's gonna go with the Bengals. You know, oh, she can be sad. She can be super happy and stoked. She can be kind of bummed out or mad, you know. Oh, the Bengals fans, the poor Cincinnati Bengal fans. That's why I took up fishing, really. What's up, everybody? Hello, hope you're out there doing this. What's the best fish you ever caught? That's a really good question because they can be taken a couple ways. If you consider best the biggest, because right now I'm fishing for bass, that would be a 9.3 bass. It was one of the most glorious days of my life. It absolutely was. I'll never forget it. One of my best friends was down here from Cincinnati, Ohio. He was actually with me that day, and if he was not with me that day to be present as a witness, no one would ever believe what happened to me that day. And unfortunately, it didn't seem to happen for him, and that's the crazy thing about bass fishing. So I had this rod right here, and thank God I had this rod, because I was tossing. We might as well load it up. Do I have one right now? I was tossing a rage tail, a Strike King rage tail, a big one. And I had it loaded up on a 1/4 ounce Gamakatsu weighted hook there. And the Strike King rage tail has a big, huge, wobbly, like do 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 whip to it, compared to a swim bait like the Divine Sixth Sense swim bait, which has a real fast tail action to it. Whether or not that was one of the ingredients that I figured out in creating the ultimate cocktail of serving up what they needed to see and have, I began to catch fish after fish after fish after fish, pulling them out of these lily pads, just one after another. And the whole time, and these are 3 or 4 pound bass, respectfully, I'm lifting them up and I'm showing my buddy, and he's like, man, dude, you know, like shouting across, what are you doing? What you catching? Like, oh, I'm just throwing a rage tail, Strike King rage tail. 1/4 ounce Gamakatsu spring-loaded hook. Giving him all the information. He loads one up or something similar to it. Maybe he doesn't have that. Maybe he has a different style of hook. Maybe he sets it up a little bit different. Maybe he's not using braid. Whatever the case is, even though he was basically using the same technique and the same type of soft plastic I was using, he couldn't find a fish with a search warrant. It was unbelievably challenging for him. Meanwhile, I'm feeling bad because I'm loading up. I've already got on board 25, 30 pounds of fish, and we had only been in the water maybe 2 hours. It was unbelievable what was happening. So, to get to my best fish ever, which was also my heaviest fish, I will say it was my, can't say it was my best fish in another way. I'll say it was my heaviest bass, my biggest bass. I loaded up on this tank, and I knew from all of the other fish that I had caught prior to that, that this was going to be a big one. And I started pulling on it, and she wrapped up around these lily pads. Thank God I had this FP 885 flipping and pitching stick tied straight to braid. I could hold her there at the lily pads, and I just started walking this inflatable. Another benefit of having an inflatable is that when you're in the lily pads, be a lily pad. You basically just, you could crawl right over the top of these lily pads, get to her, pulling myself to her. I'm not pulling her to me. And I reached down and I grabbed, up until then, the biggest bass I've ever. I sat down in my seat and I yelled at my buddy, I hope you got your scale. Bring that thing over here because we got to weigh this thing. So, what great video that was. What a great memory that was. The biggest bass of my life. Personal best. Prior to that was only 7 pounds. Caught up in Tennessee. This was going to be the best and day of my life. So I release her. She just swims off, and I was just like, oh my God, that was amazing. I go back to throwing those just by then hammered to death Strike Kings, rage tails I had. They were just chomped on. I was just biting the heads off of them to keeping that tail, whatever it was that was working. 43 minutes later, it looked like a toilet flushing, as Bob the Great McCamey would say. It just went. I was like, oh my God, what was that? Boom, I start cranking back on this fish. It comes up, boils up, and the back looked like a dog. I was like, oh my God. And man, I've just cranked. I'm crawling up to this big thing. At the same time, it wrapped up around a lily pad trying to break me off, man. These old fish don't get that big for nothing. They're smart. Not the first time, not our first rodeo. I'm sure, oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps right now. And I rode over to it, and the tail section was that big, which is probably a foot and a good 15 inches. About that wide, which is a good, 6, maybe 7 inches, just sitting there going like this. Oh my God, and I reached down, I couldn't see the body. I reached down underneath the lily pad, and my hand went inside the mouth, and I realized I was inside the mouth of the bass, which kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh my God, and I just pulled myself back, and I grabbed that bottom lip, and I reached around, and it just, that's what they call a true F1 bucket mouth. I mean, it had a mouth almost as big as a 5-gallon bucket. Oh, glory be my name. My name, yes, your name. My gosh, it was amazing. No doubt the best day of my life when it came to bass fishing. So that was, long story short, that was the best fish I've ever caught in my life. I hope everybody's doing good today, man. Welcome to, my YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the gift, man. Appreciate all that good stuff. You like bluegill? Oh, you meant bluegill. Have you catch the blue girl, the bluegill? Down here they call them like these big bronze heads. Have I ever caught bass before? Yeah, I've caught a lot of bass. Boom. There you go. The bluegill down here are absolutely huge, man. And they call them like little bronze, what do they call them? Little like copperheads. know, they are just little stubborn guys. But yeah, there's a lot of them down here. So speaking of bluegill, let's whip out the Mr. Crappie Thunder Rod here and we'll see how deep we are. I've got a Divine 6th swim bait on a jig head there, loaded up, and those bluegill, they'll smack that thing right there. So we're pretty shallow, no doubt. We're only at, you know, we're in some sticky grass too. We're only at about 3 feet right here, which is still, you know, pretty good area for some bass fishing. Might not be the best for the bluegill. You want to find those nice deep holes. And there is one over here on this side. I understand it's pretty deep, but legend says that it's also where the big monster alligator in this area lives. They claim he's about 18, 19 feet. I believe that. I have seen those alligators down here, but they're smart too. They don't get that big because they're stupid. And he's probably an alligator that has lived back here in a pretty much isolated area. There's very few homes. There's one here. Back behind me is the industrial area. There's a Walmart, you know, big massive parking lot right over here. There's a park where you can get into the ramp here, and this just goes on for, I mean, a good 200, 300 acres of water that's fishable, but you just can't really get back here. So let's think about this for a second. There are a number of things we can do. Let me see. I can toss on the old I mean, we can do a whopper plopper, but I still want to use some soft plastics. Let's start throwing some we'll throw the good old Florida swim bait. It's a vibe tail, it's a speed worm basically. We'll throw this around real fast and see what happens. That's what's really nice about these Gamakatsus. You know, they got these any you know, hook that's got a spring lock on the front of it. It's a nice thing about it is that you can switch out these soft plastics pretty easily, and really you're keeping them reusable again. I do have to watch where I'm going. You can always kind of float right into an alligator. That is just, again, you just don't know where you're at. If you're in Florida and if you're in water, you're an alligator. Just think that, okay? So I'm gonna line that spring up perpendicular. I think that's the word I want to use, to how that vibe tail works, because I want the vibe tail straight up and down so that it works along the surface like that. Does that make sense? And then I'm simply gonna hook wherever that bend goes to, the bend in the hook right there. That's where I'm gonna place my index finger. I'm gonna bring that hook back, the hook point back, try to keep that in line. Bring it back to the bend where I've got it pointed out. It gives it a nice straight. And there we go. Such a nice weedless little, again, there's so many ways you can toss this into the target areas, and you can burn this along the surface with that tail. Again, nickname, the Florida swim bait. Some old man goes, oh, that's an old Florida swim bait right there. So let's see what happens. And I'm tied straight to braid too. If they're gonna hit it, they're gonna hit it. If they're gonna get it, they're gonna get it. These bass don't mess around. They're usually not too picky when they want to take into a lure. They'll attack it. Doesn't matter what it's tied to. Again, we're just gonna toss this thing up into some of these thicker grassy areas and just pull it through here and see if we can't wake up the demon. Now there's some big bass that have been taken out of this body of water. I've caught some pretty nice ones, 3-4 pounders, but I've seen evidence from friends of mine who have come back here and caught 8, 9, you know, close to double-digit size bass. And there's a little noise there somewhere. Again, you want to, especially on the inflatable, you want to keep your eyes out. You never know when you're gonna run, and I could run on water. Hey, big shout out to True Dave. Thank you so much. Speaking about running on water here, my True Dave shoes with the classic orange sole there. Love them. These are great men's deck shoes. Check them out. I love them. So big shout out to those guys. Thank you so much. I love these things. They're very comfortable. I've actually wore them to work a couple times. Now over time, when you get out here, and again, we're just kind of drifting with the water, the wind too. It's kind of pushing us around. We're just kind of, you know, working gracefully, starting at one end, allowing the water just to kind of push us along some of these targets and hit them as we just kind of go along. You don't necessarily have to have those feet all jacked up and angled right, you know, wrong with the pedals. You can just simply, you know, sort of like feather them with the toes of your feet here, and it's really actually pretty comfortable, and doesn't take much. This kayak weighs, you know, 32 pounds, and then with the amount of gear I have on here, which is probably another 30 pounds plus me, it's does a pretty good job at, you know, controlling. I call it sort of the Apache helicopter of kayaks, you know. Yeah. What a beautiful day. I'll give a lure about you know, a good 20 opportunities. As Bill Dance once said, and I'll do it my best Bill Dance. I got a girly. What was that? Said Bill Dance, in the spirit of Bill Dance just kind of blessed me there. Bill Dance, Bill Dance, Bill Dance. Bill Dance once said, if you're willing to tie on a lure, then you should be willing to use that lure. I was like, wow, that's it. That's the secret. You know, if you're willing to take the time to tie on a lure, to put on this Florida swim bait, otherwise known as a vibe tail or a speed worm, to pick it out, to go buy it, invest your money in it, pop it out of the bag, put it on the hook, throwing it out 20, 30 times is a good, usually gives that worm an opportunity to just do what it does. Maybe I have to slow it down a little bit, just pop it. Water's a lot colder, so those bass could be just boom down there somewhere, hanging out. They're not really, no sign of anything really on the surface around here. The lake has a very, very quiet, you know, peaceful, calm feel to it. I'm trying out some Cortland braid right here, and it's really nice stuff. This is probably more applicable, you know, to some salt water, and I do use this FP 885 in salt water. I can use it one day going out after big trophy reds, snook, speckled trout, and just hammer tarpon. I mean, this thing will handle some great fish. And then the next day, just simply, you know, bring it back inshore to some of this fresh water and compete with some really big, you know, bass. You say crappie or crappie? Yesterday was a great day. So we had a block party at Mudhole, and we invited just everybody. Radio station came out, local, I think it was K92.3, I think that was the call letters on here. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that, but they were great, great bunch of folks. They came out. We had reps from NLBN, no live bait needed. We had reps from Z-Man. We had reps from Baits Fishing. We had reps from Backbone Customs. We had reps from Reef Mafia. We had reps from Daiwa. We had reps from Rod Glove. We had this beautiful woman. She was selling hot sauce. We had a taco truck. We had a Philly like steak and cheese truck out there. It was like a mini iCast. It was amazing. We opened up the doors at 10 o'clock, and at 9 we had 150 people at least lined up against the side of the building. And at 10 o'clock, right before we opened up the line or the door, we had a good quarter mile. Now, I gotta back that off. I gotta humbly say and honestly say, we had 200 yards of people standing in line. It was amazing. It was insane. And when they opened that door up, it looked like an AC/DC concert in 1975. People just running through there, man. It was nuts. It was nuts, but what a fun day we had. So I'm gonna burn this a little bit more, a few more times. I wish I had a chatterbait right now. That's one thing that's I'm kind of thin when the tackle back here, and I challenge myself. I don't like to carry too much. I like to keep it nice and light. So carrying a lot just sometimes gets too much. And I think that, with time and practice, if you're blessed like I am to have the opportunity to fish and stuff like this all the time, you kind of get the sense of what you need and what you don't need, but that's not always true. Again, that's the challenge of bass fishing. Kind of get a sense. Sometimes before I change this one out, I'll go maybe to another soft plastic and keep it on the FP885 and just flip around some of this stuff. We're starting to get a lot of choppy water right now. So the surface, not necessarily going to be using a popper or anything like that, even something like something like a whopper plopper or something like that, which is a great early morning. Man, it's summertime when that water is warm and the living is easy. Oh my God. You bust out a whopper plopper. Lord have mercy. It's just what the game is on. And the devil's horse is something that you don't want to deny either. The devil's horse is, like we had a little tap there. Devil's horse is that lure that comes out of your grandfather's tackle box, and you're like, what in the world is that? And how in the world would that do anything? It's shaped like a sharpened pencil on both sides, has a prop on both sides, and you basically do nothing with it. You cast it out and you just let it sit there, but you want to use that in a very calm water. Calm morning is a great time to do that. And you look at a target area, like there's a stump over there, there's a dock over there, a rock pile, or whatever the case is, along a grass line, and you take that devil's horse. You just throw it. You just let it sit there. And I mean, literally, you can sit here and thank God you got some coffee and talk about it. Look at that lure. Not sponsored by Folgers, but I probably should be. But you continue looking at that lure, and you'll see those fins come up, and just look at it. And they draw such interest in that weird lure. I don't know what it is. It's like magic. I mean, I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it. And I saw it a number of times. That lure has really caught me some big fish. And boy, you talk about an explosion. So you let it sit there for a moment. See if you draw any attention to it. And then you pop it. Pop it, and it gives those blades a sound, you know. And boy, that really, either that triggers them or it draws their attention from someplace else. Now, most often when two bass show up, they're both looking at the same thing. It's not it's not easy down there. Every day's a struggle. I mean, you're gonna have to duke it out with your best friend sometimes down there, just for, you know, who's gonna get that first. And boy, they sit there and it teases them a little bit, and one of them's gonna strike it. It's a lot of fun. Great lure to put on a like a spawning bed, also. You know, they're there to protect that bed, and boy, the ultra sticky treble hooks that are on most of those devil's horse, whether it's a homemade or one that you just get from Smithwick. Is it Smithwick? I think so. I haven't had enough coffee this morning. So I hope everybody's doing great today, man. It's this beautiful Sunday. I hope your team wins today, whatever team you have. I hope they win. Thanks for joining up. Have you guys heard about NLBN? Oh my gosh, what the company, that little company, man, just has done something magic with their marketing. Amazing. These kids come out of the woodwork for the NLBN stuff, and they just, no live bait needed. So I think the story goes where they were just some kids that had, you know, they were inshore boys, you know. Speaking of the inshore boys, big shout out to those guys. But that's basically what they are, just inshore boys, man. They're going from dock to dock, they're riding their bicycles, driving their golf carts here, there, bouncing from trails to trails, and going after reds, snook, trout, all of that great inshore fishing that's available down here. That's why not a lot of them bass fish, because they're past that. They've already caught that double-digit bass in their like diapers off of Grandma's dock up at like Harris Chain of Lakes. They've already done that stuff. It's not a thrill to them, so they're skipping, doing all this cool inshore fishing, and they were using this particular bold style of paddle tail that just absolutely crushed it for them. And I believe that there was an older man that made these types of lures. Not a lot of people did, and that he had passed or wasn't able to make the lures anymore. They weren't able to get these lures anymore, and there's some interesting water action happening over here. Hold on. Now again, it could be, you know, we're in about 4 or 5 feet of water right now. So I mean, you could be playing with alligators too. So you got to be a little bit careful. But these big bass will absolutely they'll have a big, huge, beautiful, just slope. They look like submarines. You know, you'll see some interesting, what I like to call weird water. You know, is the water acting naturally right now? So we're making our way back into some pretty calm water right now, where we got a good break from the wind. And I have a surface. I don't think that they're just going to be on the surface right now. We're going to play around in some lily pads right here. Just pull this thing up over and around that. And I'll go slow, given that vibe worm. Now we're getting into some more shallow area. It looks like we're in about maybe 3 feet at best. And you can tell, you can use any soft plastic's got some weight on it. Just take it down, see how far you go. Yeah, we're pretty shallow. So let's burn it up over these lily pads just for the hell of it while we're here. Since we've drifted back here, sometimes, you know, the magic happens and the wind was blowing you in that direction for a reason. What's up, everybody? Appreciate it, man. How are you? Good to have you on board, man. Thank you. Kayak Ventures, bit of love that, man. DCP Kayak Fishing Adventures. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate that. Phil, what's up? How are you, man? Adam, how are you? Adam the Fishing Pro. I could always use a pro friend in my life. That's for sure. Yeah. So right now we are basically into some just lily pads. So let's play here for a moment, because you just never know what's around. And since we're here, like I said, sometimes that wind just blows you in the direction you need to go. I want to assess my area and just make sure that I'm not in the you know, the love lane of a couple mating crocodiles, alligators, pythons, bears, whatever they got down here in Florida. And I'm gonna burn this across here, just see if we can wake anything up, because it's not deep. So if they're there and I burn this right across their face, they're gonna smack at it. They're gonna move, they're gonna do something. So I'm just covering, nope, Jesus. I'm just covering the, what happened there? There we go. Thank you, Jesus. It's my co-angler there. About lost my phone. I'm just going to cover sort of like a clock face. So right now I'm up around the 12:30, 1 o'clock mark. I'm able with this FP 885 to I'm able to easily just crank this soft plastic through there, even though I'm rolling it through some of these butt cracks of the lily pads, you might say, you know, that little V shape in the lily pad. And it could be the single most reason why a lot of us don't like fishing lily pads. I know we use a lot of medium heavies up in the Midwest, and we don't get too much involved in the big heavies. But boy, I'm telling you what, you should put a big heavy on your on the deck of your boat, kayak. This one in particular is an FP 885. It's a 12 to 30. It's got a ModFast tip, and that ModFast tip allows me to do exactly what I'm doing right now. Just it's doing the work for me. It's taking the blunt of this thing popping up over these lily pads. So I really don't have to work a lot, and it's a heavy power. So when these big fish just, you know, decide to do what I would love for them to do, load up on it, I have the ability to, you know, horse them up out of this stuff. And again, this makes a great inshore rod. Absolutely amazing inshore rod. Again, comes at a 7'4". And I'll cut it down to about a 7'2", but I think the next one I'm going to make, and this is my third one I've made of this model, I'll keep it at a 7'4" on this next one, which I haven't done yet. One more Castorino in this stuff right here. We're going to go someplace else. I have a feeling they're deep somewhere. And that can be a little challenge when it comes to, you know, fishing without electronics. There's no way of really, one last cast, there's no way of really knowing what the depths of a lot of these, you know, lakes are, because there's just so many of them, and it does change a lot with the hurricanes and subtropical weather that comes through here, big storms. It changes a lot, so they really don't have any type of depth charts on a lot of these things unless you come out here and do it yourself and find those things. But there is some deeper parts to this body of water. Again, the easiest way for me to do that is crank out the crappie, Mr. Crappie Thunder jigging rod right there, and just kind of just check my depth the old-fashioned way. Hope everybody's good, man. Boom, let's get to it. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, guys. It's a beautiful day, that's for sure. It absolutely is. Now my power might be running sad on me here shortly, I'm not sure, so hang tight. If it does, and if I just kind of shut out and cut off all of a sudden, it could be because I get into an area where I just don't have that type of reception, but it seems like so far so good. So boom. Thanks for hanging out. Now, I didn't want to get too buried into these lily pads because all I have is a forward Mirage drive. This isn't the 180, which allows me to go backwards. So I have to kind of work my way around there. Sometimes you have to crank the paddle out, but I don't like doing that. Just kind of let's do it. And boom, let's see what happens. See if we can find a body of water around here that looks like it might work for us. It's a beautiful lake, it really is. This is Festival Park Lake. They do have a dock, or I can't really call it a dock. It is a sort of a gazebo that's built out onto a fishing pier, basically. They do have a cement ramp, but it's washed out quite a bit, and they do have a closed, temporarily closed sign right there. I imagine that they're going to pack that and fill it all up again. But you can, again, bring your boat here. If it's a shallow running boat, it's a great place for it. Your bass boat's going to have a little struggle getting through here. John boat will do really well. Smaller kind of watercraft, you know, plastic type of, what am I trying to say? The one little bass fisher where a couple people can sit in that bad boy and come back here. You can get in that. But outside of that, it's a lot of really kind of all to yourself stuff. Now keep in mind that duck hunting and the seasons of duck hunting, because nobody likes to take the time and build a beautiful hidden camouflage blind and be hunkered down with your buddy and have some yapping kayaker like me come by and just start spoiling it for everybody. So they don't like that either. And rightfully so. They'll wait until you get right close, and then they just blast you with a shotgun sound, and it scares you to bejesus, but you realize that, man, you should probably be looking around, because I've actually floated up on a duck blind. Had no idea that's what it was. They had this thing hidden so well on, shotgun rings out, and it just freaks you out. Yeah, I'll never forget that. So I'm always kind of aware, wherever you're at, Always look around, make sure you can't see that, you know, usually it's that draped netting, you know, like something you'd see in a MASH unit. Well, let's see how deep we are right now. I'm going to put the FP885 back. And the water is quite cold too, so crappie guys, people have been really excited to get out and do some crappie fishing. So I have about 9 feet there stripped out. I'm gonna break it down to about, let's bring it down to about 11 feet. Let's just see how far that goes down. So it goes down to about, I don't know, 5 feet maybe. What was that I stuck on? That was, so it's got a lot of grass down there too. So you get down there, there's a lot of grass, which is a good sign. Fish love that grass. But here you're gonna figure out, and you're gonna get into a lot of this stuff. So there's a challenge of being in an area like this to do some crappie fishing, because you just don't know. There's a lot of grass in there, which they are in there, but it's probably a great place to be if you're willing to just pull this up all the time, because you have to make sure that grass is off that paddle tail so it works. And what's happening is I'm just jigging it up and down to the depth where it is. You don't want to bury it. Basically, I'm just jigging it, see where it is. And again, we're still in just about 4 feet of water. Well, let's do this for a while. Let's just play around, see what happens. That's why they call it fishing and not catching. Crappie has been kind of a new thing, or crappie, if that's what you call it. What's up, everybody? Hello. Good to see you guys too. I felt like a little tap tap. Crappie bite, or crappie bite, it's a pretty soft bite from what I've come to know of it. Again, I'm not an experienced speck fisherman. Am I into some grass there? And I've just recently started doing this because I've picked up this just really cool two-piece Mr. Crappie Thunder jigging rod, and it was only $45. And literally, as a rod builder that has the opportunity to get some actually pretty good reduced prices on rod parts, I can't build myself a rod cheaper than this. Buying it right off the retail floor. It's the Mr. Crappie Thunder jigging pole, and it comes with this really cool little reel here, which is, you know, it's not a power reel. It certainly isn't. You know, it's basically just a line holder, because when you're jigging, you're not really, but boy, you know, be prepared to pull in some big fish, that's for sure. We're pulling in a lot of salad right now is what we're pulling in. Again, I'm going to stick probably to the bass fishing. We are in a lot of this area right here where it's just nothing but thick grass. So bass are in the grass, they're in here somewhere. It's just a matter of serving up that right hors d'oeuvre for them. So let's put the Mr. Crappie back down. Kind of think for a second, look around. There's a lot of structure over here. I call it like the magic trio. And to me, when, you know, even single structure stumps, you got nothing but stumps. You know, you're going like Lake Fork, Texas, or you're up in East Fork Lake in Ohio or something. You just got these stumps everywhere. So even though it's just stumps, that is the structure where those bass are going to kind of linger around. And if that stump is accompanied with maybe a lily pad, that's even a better place. Wow, what is this right here? Okay, so I have to be a little chill. This place does have alligators in it. I know it does. People have seen them. I haven't seen them, but people have seen them in here, and there's a report that there's a monster in here too. I mean, the kind that they would make like horror movies out of. So I just want to be, if I look like I'm on the edge, a little bit. It's because of, not because I haven't had good coffee this morning. It's because I on the lookout for alligators. Back to the trifecta. Anytime you can get grass, bamboo grass, lily pads, bamboo grass teamed up with some wood, something like that, that's different. Trust me, that's where I want to think 9 times out of the 10, that's where those bass are going to pick to go to and just chill out. And I look at it like this, and I know this is kind of elementary, but I've only got an 8th grade education basically. I stopped paying attention in 8th grade and just started running cross country. That was going to be what took me to where I needed to be. There's no money in cross country, kids. None. You could get a hell of a t-shirt collection, but there's no money in it. All right. Stick to the fishing. There's a lot better money in fishing. So figuring out where those fish are going to be, and when you got a trifecta like this right over here, it's probably only about 4 or 5 feet deep, but there's wood, there's lily pads, there's bamboo grass, there's a lot of branches coming down into the water here. And again, this water is getting cold, and all that dead type of branch, all of that stuff gathers this heat. And there's a lot of it coming down. My face feels very warm right now. It gathers into that wood and it transfers down into the water. And man, they'll pin up right next to that stuff. So let's put something together. We'll throw a few soft plastics in here and see if we can't make something happen. It's right here back at my, like my 7 o'clock position. I'm gonna mosey around here. And again, that's another great thing about an inflatable. You can really just maneuver it relatively fast. When it starts getting windy like this, and that wind's going to push any kayak you're in, it doesn't matter. There's no wind-proof kayak. You start getting into some of those bigger ones like the Hobie Pro Angler 14 is my favorite. It's a mothership of all kayaks, if you ask me. You got a bunch of rods hanging up, you got anchor poles, you got Minn Kota spot locks on the front of it, you got screens. All of that is capturing that wind, and you're like a big patio, and you're just basically getting pushed. It's a lot harder to maneuver yourself out of those areas, and often with all of that gear, you can't get back into some of this tighter stuff. So again, the inflatable, I'm a big fan of it. So again, we're going into some danger zone here. I want to be using the FP885. So let's throw this just for, since it's on there, let's give it a few whacks through here. We're going to zip around. You can see it's back here behind me. I'm going to waste no time. Give it the old 3 o'clock there. Cast. We'll float around. Now again, we don't have the reverse in here, so we'll probably get pushed into it and have to just kind of bank around the other way. And most often, I think with anglers, if they just get quiet all of a sudden, it's because they're taking all of that energy and all of that sense and sending it to feeling a signal or bite. I think that's what we do when we get quiet all of a sudden. Again, I'm getting pushed into it. I don't want to get that close. I want to stay back from it a little bit. So I'm giving it the old, tennis backhand there. I've never played tennis, but I imagine that's what a backhand would be. And I'm still in a good hookup region. Even I can hook set like this too. So that's one thing that you just want to keep in mind. You just want to stay in a good hook set. Now we're gonna zero back on this, but while we're here, man, let's just go ahead, speed cast it into another area real quick, and you just don't know what's gonna happen. The sun feels so good right now, and that's a good feeling. So boom. Now we got a 9 o'clock position. Pop it through there. Let me throw deep in that jungle there, man. Let's see. Let's just get nasty with it. And that's what the FP884 is for. It just gets nasty. Now, I'm not sure how deep it is right here, but now we could, from this point, circle around it and stay at a real comfortable 90 degree sort of a strike zone area, if that makes sense. Or not 90 degree, but like a 9 o'clock. Does that make sense? So I can keep it over here on my left side, and we should be able to float around this little island here. So basically at this point, we're just gonna do a little flipping and pitching. Sort of a little flip pitch there. I want to get a nice open spot on these old trees here, because I certainly don't want to load up to something and be, up over some tree limbs. So I'll find a nice little spotted area, continuing to check around and make sure there's no prehistoric monster wants to target me. I'll just pop it right in there. But it's not in there for long because it is draped up over some of these trees here. So let's keep just getting into some of this really tight stuff. Bear with me here, guys. You want to stay somewhat aware of what you're coming up underneath too, because you don't want to get your rod tips. I'm going to swing this way. You can actually push yourself around some of this stuff because you're so close. And the FP885 will allow you to do that to a certain extent. You can push away like I am right now. It really allows me to get armed up in a good area here. So now I got a good open spot at this seemingly really protected little area. Kind of cool. I mean, if I was a bass, I'd be hanging out. And I think what I was want to refer to before is that these bass are a lot like us, man. When it comes to places to chill, they look for some sweet spots, man. They just, if all they got is a, porta potty, that's all they're gonna do. But man, if they have the opportunity to stop at a Buc-ee's, guess what? They're gonna stop at a Buc-ee's. Don't you think? Some of them might be, in the mood just to, it and get, if you know what I mean. Let's put on something else, shall we? Hope everybody's good. Oh my gosh. What's going on? Who you got? Chiefs versus Broncos? Oh my God, don't put me in that position, please. So my wife's, she's just a big Bengal fan, man. Chiefs. I don't follow. Obviously, if I followed football, I'd be inside watching it. But she loves her Bengals, so which one of those, if they win, will benefit the Bengals. That's where I'm at right now, brother. I'm sorry, if you got some blood invested in it. But I've got a wife that can be very moody depending on the outcome of a Bengals game. Come on. Don't put me in that position. Oh my God. I don't know. You got to admire the way both of those teams play. I mean, really, but Kansas City, man, that guy, he's something else. He is something else. Those boys. Okay, so let's keep playing, man. This right here, let's try this. This is a pretty cool It's a 4.5 swim bait. It's called the Whale, and it's by 6 cents. And this, and I'm sure it's because of the fins that it has up front here. And it looks like a whale, doesn't it? But see those fins up front. If you have it loaded up to a spring-loaded hook, the whole thing wedges like that, even though it's a single body. The whole thing just has a really cool swimming attitude to it. I really love it. So I'm gonna load one of those up right now. And it's in a green pumpkin. This just might be one of those green pumpkin days. Then we're gonna take that spring lock right in the front. And it's got a nice square nose to it, so it really takes a spring lock in the front really well. Boom, we're gonna make sure that's perpendicular, I think, right there, and that's where we're gonna put that. Boom, I'm gonna put my finger right there, and that is where we're gonna come back and boom, give the, boom, comes up on the other side, and I'll go ahead and peg it. It leaves us in this stuff, and that right there, the whale tail by 6 cents. Not the whale tail, but the whale by 6 cents. I'll toss it on that side. There, let's play with that for a while and see what happens. We're in some pretty cool area here. Again, there's not, it's not like there's houses around here. I mean, if you do have to be careful. That's why I'm always wearing my PFD, because man, you just don't know when things will go bad on you. And when they do, they go bad quick. And you're gonna be out here by yourself. So I'm just gonna let the magic of the 6 cents swim bait work for us right now, guys. Canoes, man. One of the first things that I probably fished out of as far as a watercraft had to have been a canoe. I think most of us did. I have to thank Marcy Clemens for that. Marcy Graves. Yep, she's the one that got me out in a canoe fishing, and that was at Stone Lick Lake. That was when I was a kid. Pretty crazy time back then. This was back in the 70s, early 70s. And wow, big old aluminum canoe. Oh my God, that thing was a beast. So we'd go to Stone Lick Lake and rent them, because you really would have a hard time as a car topper on that. So this thing has such a good, like the whole thing really moves. The front moves, the tail moves. It really does it so well that transfers right up through this braided line. And boy, can I feel it. And it's a good heavy lure. I can get a good long bomb cast out of it. I haven't used these a whole lot. This is the first pack that I've used of the Whale, and I really haven't given it the time that it probably deserves, so maybe we'll just do that right now. Pop it around a little bit. I can certainly cover a lot of real estate. I mean, that's a good 45, 50, probably 40 yard cast right there. And that's not bad. We just need that bird to load up. So there's so many target areas here. We got ends of patches of grass, endless lily pads, fresh grass, dead grass, stumps. So we're entering into some lily pads now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and push my Mirage Drive up, push the fins up against the actual bottom of the inflatable. It's getting into that sun time. A little hard to see the screen there, guys. I can kind of see it, so if I don't quickly respond back to you, it's not because I'm being rude, for sure. I'm just I'm about 4 feet away and I can't read it. But I really appreciate everybody hanging out, man. Thank you so much. So to recap, we're just buried into some really, really thick, beautiful Central Florida vegetation here. We are at Festival Lake Park, or Festival Park Lake, one of just the hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies of water, retention bodies of water, lakes, rivers, canals, streams, creeks, just an insane amount of you know, opportunities to catch fish around here. And have something like this happen where you've been out here for some time and you can't catch a fish with a search warrant. You're like, where are you guys? And I don't like to rush through lures. You know, I'll give them, again, we have to give them the time of day. Again, that's, you know, it's such a beautiful day. Why not? You know, what can't you enjoy about, you know, the beautiful, God, sacredness and solitude of, you know, something like this without even catching fish, you know? It still is pretty amazing. I mean, I have over here probably 4 or 5 acres of nothing but solid lily pads, and that could be where they are buried. We might have to just commit to that. Now, there's some weird water over here, though. There's some movement. That's definitely not an alligator type of movement either. This. What's nice about the FP885, even though it is sort of a tank of a rod, it's still sensitive enough to give you the opportunity to know if you got some junk on your lure there. Because if there's some junk on your lure and it's not allowing that lure to be all that it can be, then you're just wasting your time and you're wasting the lure's time. So let's bomb around some of this crazy thick stuff. Let's just see if we can't draw something up. You know, we're not asking for much. We just need to get something on the board. We might have to go to some, you know, some type of twitch baits. You know, maybe some, you know, flukes, something like that. Because boy, nothing's really hitting right now. So let's start covering some ground. And thanks to the speed and agility of a Hobie iTrek. This is the 11, it's not the new. The new, oh, I'd love to have the new 12-foot. Wow, that thing really has some ability, side with, you know, stability, ability. It's fast. It's got rails on it so that you can actually add electronics to it. I wouldn't do that, but I certainly would have some rod holders on there and some other things. I would probably have a fish finder. Give me some depth, temperature. It's really all I need. Now, it's all I want. It's probably not all I need, you know. Sure, a forward-facing sonar would be great right now to go track down some you know, some crappie or some big bass and stuff. But with a forward-facing sonar, even on a kayak, you know, you got to have a battery, pretty heavy, substantial battery to power all of that stuff, along with the other things that come along with it. And that's a price. What you own owns you. It's kind of the way that I look at the kayaks. What you own actually owns you. And with this one right here, man, it's just so easy to just get this thing broken down, put together, and in another spot with no time at all. Whoop. Usually when you get a little, I'll back off a little bit. That happens, usually doesn't, but it will. You know, the issues of a bait caster where a lot of people are like, I don't like using those because they always bird nest. It's just a matter of really dialing in your reel, and you don't need an expensive bait casting reel. You know, I love my expensive reels. I would love to have more expensive reels. I can appreciate the value in a lot of these very expensive bait casting reels that are, you know, meant for bass. But you know, even the big bass, they will draw, they will scream your reel out a little bit and pull on some drag. But I think it's the rod that does most of the fighting, and not the reel. The reel is just kind of there to be again a line holder. And if you're gonna put money into something, I would put it into my fishing rod and not necessarily my reel. Now that's not true out on the saltwater. On the saltwater, you do want a reel that's made for saltwater. You can use a you know, a water that's a casting reel that's not necessarily intended for saltwater out there, but you certainly have to pay attention to washing and cleaning that thing, and expect to do a little bit more maintenance with it. You know, if you're going to do that. This one in particular right here, it's not made for saltwater, but I've used it out there many times, and